course, you had to pick 5 days. That's like in the middle of everything. And here's what I mean. If you're going on vacation for 3 days, don't worry about it. Your fish are going to be fine. I know you think it's mean, but they're going to be fine. If you're going for 7 days, you need to figure out something to get your fish fed while you're gone. 5 is like right in the middle, but here's the deal. They're probably going to be fine if you're gone for 5 days. But I understand you're going to want to feed them or have somebody feed them while you're gone. I would too. Here's what I suggest you do. One of two things. Take a Ziploc bag, put the amount of food that you would put into that tank on any given day, write that day on it, tape it to the tank. That way, whoever's coming over to feed your fish for you knows just put that bag in that tank that day, done. Then you don't have anything to worry about. And if I was going to be gone for 5 days, I would have them come on day 3. I wouldn't worry about having them come every single day because something could go wrong and you're not going to be there to fix it. Another option is to use something like this. This is full of my drugs, but this is great for putting the fish food in and then having your friend or your mom or your aunt come by, look at the day, pull it out, put the food in, you're good to go.
Hi, I'm Carrie with ScienceGal Aquatics, and today I want to help answer the question, if I'm gone for 5 days or more and I don't feed my fish, will they be okay? And from my experience, the answer is yes and no. All of the smaller tanks, all the smaller species that I keep down here in the fish room, I will feed them before I leave, give them a good water change, and then I don't worry about them while I'm gone. But for my silver arowana tank, if I'm gone more than a couple of days, I will have my mom come over to the house and feed that tank. But all of the live bears, the shrimp, the plecos, the bettas that I do keep, I don't worry about them while I'm gone. Everything does fantastic. But again, I will feed them before I leave. But when it comes to my silver arowana, I will have my mom feed that tank if I'm gone more than a couple of days.
Hi there. It's Mike from the Fish Tank Barn, and let's talk about leaving your house for a 5-day vacation and feeding your fish. Personally, I really wouldn't feed any of the fish if I were to leave for a 5-day vacation. I think the risk is too high to have someone else feed your fish with someone who's maybe inexperienced or not familiar with your fish or your fish room. I find it easier just to let the fish forage whatever food's available in the tank when you leave, and when you come back, everything will be fine. My family and I have taken numerous vacations, and every time I've really not fed the fish, and everything's turned out great. If you think about the chain of custody, the fish is fasted and then travels for days from the fish farm to the wholesaler to your local retailer. And all that time, that fish goes without eating. But if you are concerned about feeding your fish, I would purchase a high-quality auto feeder, making sure to program and test the auto feeder ahead of time to make sure there's not any hiccups.
Hi, Lefty. That's a great question. I have tried a lot of different things. I used to hire a kid in town to come take care of my fish, but he's joined the Army and left. And so now I have done a few different things. I've tried just letting them go. The adults can handle it, no problem. 5 days, not a problem. The deal is I have lots and lots of guppies. And if I don't feed them for 5 days, I'll have lots of fry being eaten. So I have asked my father to help with my fish, and he's an elderly guy, and he gets some things confused and stuff. So I've tried a couple different methods, and 2 have been my favorite. Rapashi makes a great mix, and so basically I make a Jello mold, and I cut it up into little squares, and I just say just drop one in each one of my tanks once a day, and we're good to go. That helped with my fry tremendously. And I've also gotten the Sarah OTABs. Sorry. I should have been holding this stuff for you guys to see. But the Sarah OTABs are great because he can just stick them on the glass, and it's fun to watch. Everybody enjoys it. If my niece is there or somebody's hanging out with my dad, then they can watch, and it's fun. So that's what I do when I go out of town.
Yes, they should be just fine fasting for the 5 days that you're on your trip. If it's any longer than 7 days, you may consider getting a pet sitter, but really, they should be fine. You have more than a couple of snails, I would drop maybe a snail cookie or something substantial for them the day that you leave. That way they can graze on it for the next couple of days if they need to. I will err you on a side of caution that you might not come back to a pretty tank. I can tell you any trip that I've been on, I did let my snails fast, but they do continue to poop. And we all know they are poop machines. I would expect to clean as soon as you get home. The probability that they will survive for those 5 days while you're gone is extremely high.
G'day everyone, Blake here from Blake's Aquatics. So when I'm considering going on a 5-day trip away from the fish room, in most cases I do nothing at all. A lot of us don't realize that there is going to be food sources within the aquarium that we probably don't even realize, things like biofilm, algae, microcrustaceans and so forth. So I've gone away from my fish room for 10, 15 days before and not fed anything at all and come back and everything's been totally fine. In the lead up to that, I do like to do a nice water change a few days out so they can make sure that there's not going to be any cycle issues from that water change. Also, I feed a lot of high quality foods before I head away, whether that's some live baby brine shrimp or other live foods. And that way as well, it's going to do less messing up of the aquarium as well. Now, I also understand for a lot of people, there's some concerns there about the welfare and maybe we'll have a lot of anxiety if we go away and don't feed. So you can also get somebody to come across and feed, whether that's a family member, being sure to give them some clear instructions. I do occasionally make an actual video that people, if they're coming to feed my fish, can follow along with, and it visually shows how much and of which food to feed my fish. I know other people use a color coding system and so forth, so use what works for you and for the understanding that your friend is going to have when they come and help you out. Other than that, the only other thing that you can really do is have an auto feeder running, but if you do want to do that, then I'd recommend setting it up a couple of weeks before you go away so you can keep an eye on it, make sure that it's going to be reliable, make sure that it's not going to dump a heap of food into the aquarium, which is going to create an ammonia issue while you're away and can't do anything about it. So if you are going to go the auto feeder route, make sure you set time aside to monitor it and make sure that you are going to be able to predict what that auto feeder is going to do. But other than that, sit back, don't worry, enjoy your time away, and it'll all be okay.
Oh no, we're leaving the fish behind. Who would do such a thing? So I'm assuming we are not talking about brand new fry that you just hatched out, which do need regular feedings multiple times a day. Otherwise, yes, your fish will be fine without food. They can go weeks without food. And even though fish can go a long time without food, your fish are not necessarily fasting this entire time you're on vacation. They'll spend some time while you're away picking at plants, substrate, algae, and ornaments in search of anything remotely edible and doing a decent cleanup job while they're at it. In fact, when I get home from vacation, most of my tanks look better than they did before I left because they've had the benefit of being left alone from my meddling hands for a change. Personally, my biggest concern when I'm leaving my tanks for several days is equipment failure. So I do make a point to check all my filters and rinse the media if I see one on the verge of a clog or something, and make sure the heaters are still functioning and the water parameters aren't heading in the wrong direction. Other than that, your fish will be fine, and perhaps even better off without you for a few days.
Nice. I guess it's only fair that I answer my own question too while we're at it. So the longest I've gone away has probably been about 5 days, maybe 7. And the longest I've gone without feeding a tank is about 10 days. And that was just because, I was so busy with work and college that I was just so neglectful of my tank. I also only had one at the time, so it's not like I was neglecting 22 tanks like I have now. It was just one tank that I was going by the wayside, and all those fish were fine. I didn't lose a single fish in that 10-day period. So for 5 days, I'm gonna say you're probably fine to not feed your fish as long as you feed them right before you leave. So before you leave, give them a good feeding, go away, you should be fine. It sounds a little mean, but the fish have a bunch of stuff in the tank they can also eat that you can't see, but there is stuff in that they will eat and find. Some fish will graze on algae and things in the tank, so it's not like there's not a food source in the tank, it's just you're not physically feeding the fish. But they'll be fine for 5 days while you're away. If you're worried about it, have someone come over on like day 3 or 4 and just, have measured out how much food to give the fish, and just tell them, put that in the tank. I know it's not a lot, but it's exactly what they need. Please don't feed any extra, and your fish will be fine.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm Trent Weldon with Wel-Don Tanks. I want to give a big thank you to Lefty for inviting me to join him on a video series answering some questions that often come up in the hobby, but also giving my opinion on 5 different questions. So let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. I'm going on a 5-day trip. Will my fish be fine if I don't feed them? What should I do? So I've been in this position, and I even have a video on this on my channel. But to answer the question quite simply, your fish will be fine. Now, if you just have fish, adult fish, you'll be amazed at what they actually find to graze on in your aquarium, because an aquarium is an ecosystem. There's going to be little crustaceans and microorganisms that they can feed on, and most fish can go weeks without actually being fed and still be alive. Now, if you have fry baby fish, you may want to look into a way to have somebody assist you feeding them while you're gone. But on a simple basis of fish, they'll be okay. My opinion is turn off your lights. Completely turn off your lights. That's going to slow the fish down, therefore slowing down their metabolism. And then don't feed at all. If you're going on an extended stay, you can have somebody come in and feed your fish. But I have had experiences where they have actually overfed my fish to where I get home, the aquarium is more of a disaster than it would be if I had just not fed my fish. So I would turn the lights off completely for all 5 days I'm going to be gone. Don't feed. When I get home, I will, turn the lights on, do a check, do a light feeding. Then I'll do my water changes, and then I'll continue back onto my regular schedule. So that is my opinion, is your fish will be perfectly fine while you're gone on your vacation. That's one less thing you need to stress about and more time to go enjoy your vacation.
What up, fish people? Kenny E with DaniKen Aquatics. Well, what Danny and I do when we're going on a long trip, first off is I always give them a good feeding the day before we leave. I'll feed them once in the morning, and then I'll feed them again that night. And then what I do is I turn off all the lights. They're in total blackout mode for the entire week that I'm gone. Now, this is not going to work for you guys if you have fry. Fry is a completely different story. If you have fry in your house, you're going to need to find a family friend or somebody in your fish club that can come over and feed your fry. Fry are going to be needed to be fed, Ours usually get fed 3 times daily, sometimes 4 to 5 times daily, depending on the species. The only time you can leave your fish and you don't have to worry about them is when there's not fry involved. Danny and I went to the ACA last year. We were gone for about 5 or 6 days. We turned the lights off, had our father-in-law come and feed just the babies we had. Everything was fine. Now, you may lose fish, but guess what, guys? While you're at your house, you might lose fish. Same difference. So that would be my answer for that. As always, guys, love your fish. It's going to be Kenny E. Check it out for now. Have a good one.
Brandon from Coldwater Aquatics here. They'll be fine. Don't feed your fish. Don't worry about it. I see more times than none posts all over that show people go on vacation, they have somebody feed their tanks for them, and they overfeed them, and then they come home and they have rotten food in their tanks and dead fish. So stay away from it. Your fish will be fine. 5 days is not that long. Normally here we only feed a few times a week anyway, so we skip a day or two pretty often, and it's not a bad thing for your fish. You'll come home and at least your fish will be alive. They'll be hungry. They'll be happy.
So there you go. The council has spoken and answered my question of, if I'm going away for 5 days, how do I feed my fish? Do I feed my fish? What do I do? I hope this answered anyone's questions. If you're planning on going on a trip that's more than like a 3-day extended weekend, I want to give you a big, huge thank you to all the channels that agreed to participate on my channel with this collab video. There will be a few more of these coming out on a variety of topics, so I hope you stick around and enjoy. If you did enjoy this, please, hit that little sub button, give me a little likey. And again, hope you enjoyed your stay, and I will catch you guys in the next video.